Hello everybody, welcome to another screen recording. Today I figured I would show you some harmony in 14 Edo, 14 tone equal temperament, Let me just adjust the synth here real quick so that I have this as the correct settings. So now I can see I have my 14 equal scale here. What I just played there is chromatic 14. And basically, in 14 equal, we have three different thirds. There's a perfect third, or what is sometimes called the neutral third. I prefer the term neutral third. On the Zen Harmonic Wiki, it's perfect third. Because, using ups and downs, this is the 7 Edo third, and all intervals in 7 are perfect. 14 has the same fifth as 7, so thus there's a perfect ring and up/down ring of fifth. So you have the perfect third or neutral third, you have the down third or minor third, and you have the up third or major third. So that's three types of thirds. Then you have a down fifth or diminished fifth, a perfect fifth, and an up fifth or augmented fifth. So that's three types of fifths, which means 9 possible triads. And then if we go for the seventh, we have the diminished seventh or down seventh, the perfect or seventh, which is also the minor seventh, and the up seventh or major seventh. So if you've been doing the math along with me, you've got 27 different seventh chords. If you want to take it to upper chord extensions, you have, if you're feeling adventurous, you have this flat second here, pretty nasty, or flat ninth if you prefer. So if you want to take it to upper chord extensions, before you run into using all the same notes, there's 2 types of ninths / seconds, so that brings our total ninth chords to 54. And if we go for 11ths, we have pretty much only one choice. So we have 54 potential 11th chords, and then in 13ths, we also only have one choice. So we have 54 possible 13th chords. Of course, there's more if you want to include the sus4s and sus2s and 6/9s and that kind of stuff. And also there are more options if, like, let's say you're building a perfect 13th, for example. Now there's a 7, there's a 9th, but then you could actually either up 9th if you want, which is the same thing as a down 10th, and then you could go for 11, and if you want, you can even use a down 13. Although, of course, Scale Workshop won't let me play 7 notes at once for whatever reason. It's not a big deal, though. So I'm going to show you guys how some functional harmony could work in 14. So let's start off with the perfect chord, also known as the neutral chord, comprised of the root, perfect third, perfect fifth, or an Edo step, 0, 4, 8. You can hear this chord sounds... I can't really describe it with words. But if I had to describe how stable it is, I would say it's moderately unstable. By contrast, the down chord is happy just to sit where it is. The down chord or minor chord is just happy to sit where it is. Its Edo step formula is 0, 3, 8. And then you have the major chord or the up chord, 0, 5, 8. And it is much less happy to sit still. If you ask me, the best place for this chord to go will probably be to this one, to the perfect chord, or it could go to a minor chord if you're feeling really adventurous. Or it could even take you to a sus4. Actually, no, I can't really take you to a sus4, but if you take this chord, and then you just go ahead and drop the root by 1 step of 14, resolves pretty nicely. Because you have that perfect fourth on the bottom, that down third or minor third on top. Just for simplicity's sake, for those of you who are used to 12 anyway, I'll be using the names minor third, major third, and diminished fifth, augmented fifth, like major seventh, instead of like down third or up fifth or up seventh or stuff like that. That will keep it simpler for those of you who are used to 12 equal interval categories. So let's go for a little chord progression in C neutral, shall we? Now let's take it to an F neutral. Now take it to a G chord. I think I'm gonna take it to a G major. Shall we? So taking it to G major. I've actually inverted it here. Actually, no, that's not G major. That's a G major. Or wait a moment, if it's... Yeah, it is. It is G major. And then add in the 7th. And let's resolve it to C. Now try that G7, but this time we're going to resolve it to C minor. So that's a nice little demonstration of how chords work in 14. That's just the basic triad types. Like, that's just basically the basic triads, and I know I included dominant 7th there on that G chord. But we still got more chords to talk about. We have the diminished chord 037. And the reason I'm calling 037 diminished and not 047 is because 037 is a more minor sound, has a more minor sounding third than 047. You could also build the diminished with 047, although by that point it's kind of sounding like a major flat 5 already. And of course you got the augmented chords, 049 and 059. The 049 I'd say is a little happier to sit where it is, but 059 just begging to resolve. Like the augmented chord is just practically begging to resolve. Or I could resolve it like this. Or I could even resolve it somewhat like this. So in 14, I would say that the 037 diminished chord functions similar to how it would in 12. Like if I'm in the key of D flat, for example, or C sharp, they're the same. They're one and the same here. Just bear in mind in 14 equal, the notation I'm using for this, like the note names I'm using for this, are the 7 equal naturals, that being every other step, from that being starting on the root and taking every other step, get the natural names, like C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And then sharp or flat names are given to the other 7 notes. So it says, like, this will be C sharp or D flat, D sharp or E flat, E sharp or F flat, F sharp or G flat, G sharp or A flat, A sharp or B flat, B sharp or C flat. I know this one sounds a lot more like a B than a B sharp, but if we're using 7 equal notation note names for the main set of 7 equal off of our bass note, then off of our tonic, then we've got to use sharp or flat names for the other 7 notes, right? And that gives us weird things like E sharp, which to me sounds more E than E sharp, and B sharp, which definitely sounds more B than B sharp. So, let's say we're in the key of C sharp, you know. So we're going to start off with that C sharp neutral. And I'm going to take it to C diminished. And I'm going to take it back to C sharp neutral. So I'm sure you can see now what I mean when I say that the diminished chord in 14 works the way it does in 12. I'm sure you could achieve similar results with the 047 diminished chord. Although it might actually work even better with that chord, because if I have my root note at C, and like if I have my whole 14 equal scale starting on C, and then I go to the key of C sharp, that C sharp is one Edo step above my root. So now I have Edo steps 1, 5, 9 for my neutral chord. And if I go for the 0, 4, 7 diminished, then the third only has to travel one Edo step. You can hear that makes it a bit of a stronger resolution there. And I already showed you how augmented chords resolve in 14. So that's 14 equal harmony. And with that, I'll catch you on the very next screen recording. Zag Zunt, Mashiach now. A question for the Pesach.